Welcome back to LearnWake. This is Brandon Judd, and today I'm responding to a video analysis request on a tantrum and a Tootsie Roll. And this one's been uploaded by user glock0077, and the description down here that he left is really helpful for us to see what you're thinking. And he mentions in the tantrum that he's confused at how he's flipping about halfway through the flip, spinning about halfway through the flip, and landing switch dance on accident. And then the Tootsie Roll, this is your first attempt at that, and you're not sure how to get the handle pass or any tricks to start getting it sooner. So this is a good start, and thanks for uploading the video in the description. This allows us to help you a little bit easier. So before I get too deep into the instruction here, I want to reference a video that I just did, the video analysis directly before yours. It's called Quarter Tantrums by ijwest. I'd watched this one. I had a lot of similar issues. I saw a lot of similar issues in this one as I do yours. Your takeoff is a bit different, but the rotating 180 unintentionally in the air is happening on this one as well. So that'd be a good one to kind of brush up on. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about this. I'm going to just side by side compare this one to our quick clip of Kyle doing a tantrum. So I'm just going to go step by step because there's a few issues in your approach and there's a few issues in the middle of the air that we could correct. And the first thing is when you're coasting right now, you're coasting tall, and you'll notice Kyle coasts in a more seated position. That's going to change how much leverage you have and what position you're going to be at the wake so that you can use more legs. So you come in really mellow also. You don't really edge in super hard, and you get seated but kind of late. And then at the wake, you don't stand up all the way. You don't really square up all the way. The nose of the board is still kind of pointed across the wakes. And before you really get all your pop from the wake, you're already arched back really hard. And it looks like you're looking kind of toward the boat like you mentioned in the description. So let's look at Kyle's and see how different he does his. So as soon as he starts edging in, he starts edging with a little bit harder edge and keeps that hard edge until really close to the wake when he switches edges and stands up nice and tall. And I went a little too far here, but in this position when his tail is kind of the deepest in the water right at the peak of the wake, you'll notice he's pretty upright still, and his nose is completely covering, like the nose of his board is covering his back leg. Your board was more out here, so you could square up a little bit better on yours. So sit down earlier, come in a seated approach with a more aggressive approach, and then stand up really tall and upright directly over top your board without your board still pointing across the wake, so you'll square up a little bit better. And it's pretty subtle, but just that little bit of extra being squared up will help you flip properly. Another thing is you'll notice how arched you are right here in comparison to how Kyle is. Kyle's more up and down than you are. You're a lot more kind of arced back. And this is going to make you flip a little funny and prevent you from getting all the upward pop that you need. It's going to make you go kind of lower and fast and more out of control. And then let's walk through this. As soon as you take off of the wake, you stay looking toward the boat a little bit more. And what that does eventually is it squares you up. You'll notice you're facing the boat right now. Your chest is facing the boat and your toes are facing the boat. So you're at about halfway through your 180 at this point, and that's just because of your takeoff. You didn't square up enough and you kind of stayed facing the boat. So at this point, watch where Kyle's eyes go. He'll look up at the sky and square up a little bit more as soon as he leaves the water. So you can see here, I can't see his face anymore. He's looking straight up, and really kind of keeps his hips forward, drives his knees up. And at this point, he's almost a little backside. You'll notice that at his upside down mark, I can see his heels more than I can see his toes. And his eyes are already spotting the water. So that's something that we need to have reflected in your attempt at the beginning. Is right here at this point you should just look straight up and then keep that back arm, that back shoulder in line with your front arm, so that it's like the rope goes directly through your arms all the way to your back shoulder. And what that will do is when you start rotating, you'll rotate squarely around the rope instead of facing the boat this whole time. Your life jacket has kind of an orange in front and like a black on the sides and in the back. And you'll notice that right after you take off, I just see more and more orange all the way through, and you end up kind of getting stuck at 180. So that's a big part of it, because if you can keep that first 50% of the trick squared up nicely, then this second half comes together and you can see the landing and everything's a lot easier. Another thing that's happening in the middle of the trick, and this may be due to some discomfort, but it looks like you're a little uncomfortable in the air because it may not feel like you're getting all the way around, but in the air you're pulling in on the handle with your arm. It's very subtle, but it happens. So you never really relax your arm. You'll see right here your arm is kind of bent and the handle starts to move across your chest. You can see it really well right here. That handle is just being brought across your body. And what that does is when you bring your handle across your body, is that will force you to rotate front side about 90 degrees. Another thing is where you're landing is you're landing in the middle of the wakes, not quite all the way across the wake. Right here you'll see you're landing on this side. So even if you were to do execute the perfect backflip, the perfect tantrum, with the approach you're taking, you'd still land right here. So what we need to do is we need to fix that beginning, and this will help you square up better too, and it will help you start flipping properly. So you need to get seated here and start edging harder. Right here you should be, edging really hard, and you're not. You're just coming in kind of mellow like for a normal wake jump. Because every time you come and edge in, as soon as you switch edges to trip your tantrum, you lose momentum here. So you have to add more momentum than you normally would at the beginning of your approach, because you're going to lose a little, and if you lose a little but don't ever give any extra, you'll end up landing where you are right now. So if you give it twice as hard of an edge in and then let off your edge when you switch edges, that'll send you back to a perfect tantrum, and you'll land wake to wake. So again, once you hit the wake here, this one's squared up a little better than the last one, which is good. But I can still see too much of your face. It's hard to kind of see here, but you should be looking up and leaving this arm kind of down. You don't want to bring it up and across, because that's, if you bring both arms together, both of them in, which says to me you're uncomfortable upside down. People who are uncomfortable upside down, typically they bring their arms out in front of them to kind of protect themselves. And when they do that, it brings this arm in, which pulls the rope, and it brings this arm in, which helps encourage the front of your body to face the boat. You can see both hands almost touch each other here. And that's just a protection mechanism that your body has when you're uncomfortable. And that's what's causing you to rotate 180 degrees on that. So I'd spend some time on the trampoline getting comfortable doing a backflip with a 180 to the right and a 180 to the left, with and without the rope if you can. Just get comfortable upside down, relax a little more in the air, and then keep your eyes looking up to the sky all the way until you can see your landing here. And if you do that with a more squared up approach, with a more aggressive edge in, that should correct that. Again, hit us up if you have any questions on that, or upload another video of you trying that, and we'll work on it from there. For now, let's move on to the Tootsie Roll. And in order to really get a good understanding of what's going wrong on your Tootsie Roll, I'll need to see your front roll as well. Because in this one, it looks just really out of control. So I'd like to see your front roll to see how in control that one is. Because it may just be a mental thing. If your front roll is in really good control and you can land it really consistently every time, take it straight up and even grab it, and then this is happening on your Tootsie Roll, then what that probably means is that your like mentality toward the Tootsie Roll is you think it's a different trick than it needs to be, in the sense that you have to throw your body into it really hard or whatever. But that will dictate a lot of what you're thinking, is to be able to see what you can do on your front roll. And if your front roll is kind of weak right now, there's a few drills I can get you to do to strengthen your front roll so that this becomes easier. But for now, let's take a look at this. I'll slow the speed down so we can make heads and tails of it. But looks like you come in pretty strong and pop it all right. Right here, even, you're starting to go for the handle really quick, and you're starting to flip forward before you've even left the wake. So I'd be just a little more patient there. Most people, when they first try this, that's pretty normal. People go for it really fast. And then, actually, it doesn't look too bad. But then right here, it's hard to tell, but this is your arm and this is your arm. As soon as you get upside down, your arms open up, which says to me that you're a little uncomfortable and you feel like you're rotating too fast, so you're trying to slow your rotation down, and that's how a lot of people do it. The problem is that keeps the handle in this hand, it keeps this hand really far away from the handle as well. It just looks like you're really uncomfortable in the trick. And if you had gotten the handle and not opened up with your arms, you probably would have come back around and landed back on your board pretty good. So again, that's just what I'm seeing on the Tootsie Roll. If you have a front roll video and you want to add that in the comments or something, I can take a look at that and we can hash it out from there. But it looks like you need to spend a little bit of time on the trampoline getting comfortable with the Tootsie Roll motion, and then just be a little bit more patient. On your approach, sometimes people keep the handle in too close on their approach. So let me kind of see how you're doing. Yeah, it's not too bad, but you could, if you wanted to, you could let your arms out a little more on your approach, so that when you stand tall, your hips and the handle sort of come together, which advances you toward the rope. But right now you're just kind of pulling in on the rope as you're taking off and going a little early into the flip, which may send it kind of out of control. But the Tootsie Roll is weird because you don't feel like you get the handle right away. The handle grab kind of comes later in the trick. So don't feel like you're getting it too late. Like, even if you got the handle right here, you'd have been fine, but you just got to keep those hands closer to the small of your back so you can actually get the handle. But that will come with comfort. I would just spend some time on the trampoline again and get those front rolls really comfortable, where you can grab the board, do like an indie grab or something like that, some sort of backhand grab, tail grab, whatever, something to get your hands to do something during the flip. That'll give you a little bit more control and over the flip, and more dexterity with your hands. You'll kind of know what's going on with the handle, so you can get the handle pass a little better. Another thing too is to see how your toe side backside 180s are. If your toe side backside 180s are really strong, then that landing position will be strong for you as well, because that's another piece of the Tootsie Roll that is really important. So for me, when I landed my first Tootsie Roll, I kept getting close and was falling over my heels pretty hard. So I went out and I actually learned a switch tantrum, just one wake. And landing the switch tantrum is the same feeling as landing the Tootsie Roll. So I could get the handle, but everything was really uncomfortable after that. So doing a switch tantrum taught me what it felt like to land it. And then immediately after that, I went out and did a Tootsie Roll and landed it. I think it was after 1 or 2 tries. It was that first set that after I landed that switch tantrum that I landed the Tootsie Roll. So they're all very connected, and it will help you there. So if you want to and have time and want to learn a switch tantrum, you can, or just spending time on the trampoline and and getting those takeoff and landing positions comfortable will solve it all for you. But again, if you have any other questions, you can hit us up down here in the comment section below, or you can work on these individually and upload a new video of each of them separately. Typically, we like to tackle each of these tricks one by one in separate video analysis requests. It helps us categorize it a little bit better and helps the videos stay a little bit shorter, so that you can watch one and we can work on one individually and then work on another in a separate video. But thanks for uploading this, and it looks like, to be honest, you're not too far away from this Tootsie Roll, and that tantrum needs a few things to get it consistent, but once you do, looks like you're comfortable enough on your board that you can start progressing pretty quickly. So thanks again, and we'll see you around the site.